The parks do not belong to one state or to one section. The Yosemite, the Yellowstone, the Grand Canyon are national properties of which every citizen is vested. They belong as much to the man of Massachusetts, Michigan, of Florida, as they do to the people of Wyoming or Arizona. Stephen Mather, First Director of the National Park Service.
All right.
Howdy everyone, my name is Ranger Matt. Welcome to the Campfire Talk Celebrate National Parks. We're going to talk about celebrating our national parks tonight. I want to welcome you to this beautiful Thursday night here in Cuyahoga Valley National Park. And I would like to thank you because you're the people that provide this for me, provide this opportunity for me. These are your national parks. This is a Publix national park. We're really lucky to have that here in our backyard. And I'm really lucky to be here to be able to share this experience with you. Speaking of national parks, we're here at Cuyahoga Valley, obviously. Can anyone think of any other national parks off the top of their head that you could say you really, really like or have a favorite?
Glacier.
Smoky Mountains, Glacier.
Yellowstone.
Yellowstone.
Grand Canyon.
Grand Canyon. All these places. Denali. These are all pretty nice real estate that technically you're stakeholders in, so you can go and tell your friends. Anytime they ask you if you're looking into expanding into new opportunities, some new investments, just let them know you've got some land in Alaska that you're thinking about visiting sometime in the future. But we are here to talk about celebrating the national parks. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to start with the definition of celebrate. Celebrate is a verb. It's to acknowledge a significant or happy event with a social gathering or enjoyable activity. Some synonyms are commemorate, observe, mark, keep, honor, remember, and memorialize. The secondary definition is to honor or praise publicly. Synonyms are praise, extol, glorify, eulogize, reverence, honor, or pay tribute to. So with that definition in mind, what are some examples of things that you have celebrated recently? Anyone?
I'm not dead.
All right, he woke up on the right side of the dirt today. That's what I like to hear. It's always nice to be 6 feet up instead of 6 feet down. Anyone else?
Independence Day.
Independence Day. We celebrated that just about a month ago now.
50th wedding anniversary.
Whoa!
Congratulations, Miriam. 50th wedding anniversary. What's the gift for that? Is that pearls?
No. Golden.
Gold.
Yes.
Obviously not married.
No, but you'll learn.
I will learn. Thank you. That's a pretty big one. Anyone else?
Retirement?
Retirement. That's a celebration. Celebrating getting to do whatever you want for the rest of your life. That's always nice. So yeah, these are different things that we celebrate. Celebrations mean different things to different people. But celebrating the national parks, we talked about commemoration, memory, honor. A lot of those things sound quite a bit like the National Park Service mission statement. I'm going to go ahead and read that for you as well. The National Park Service preserves, unimpaired, the natural and cultural resources and values of the national park system for the enjoyment, education, and inspiration for future generations. So we're talking about preserving things, commemorating things, honoring things for future generations. So celebrating the national parks is a celebration of a celebration, in my opinion. So this is one big party that we're having here today. Great weather, thanks for coming. This is more than I usually get at my parties. I'm gonna go ahead and say this was a good solid 50 people at my party. But celebrating the national parks, you start to think about the national parks. Not all national park units are national parks. Does anyone know how many national park units there are currently?
60. National Park
units.
417.
All right. So there's 417 national park units. There's 60 of those that are national parks. In February, the Gateway Arch got added as a national park. Got changed in status. But there's 417 different national park units. Of those, there's 19 different types of designations. There's seashores. There's national battlefields. There's national historic sites, national monuments. There's all these different types of things, and they appeal to different types of people. Not everyone likes to go hiking, Larry, so you don't have to try and force me to go on your hikes all the time. I prefer to be inside where there's air conditioning. Maybe go work at a historic site. Read a little bit about some presidents in the past. Not everyone likes going to the beach. Crazy to me, but sand. Sand gets in everything, your cameras, your shoes, whatever. Sand can become a pain, but some people really, really, really like beaches. It's a really relaxing thing for them. So what I like to try and get the point across to, like, especially a lot of our younger visitors, is there's parks for everybody. It's not just history, it's not just hiking, it's not just being outdoors. There's all sorts of different opportunities and experiences that you can have in the National Park Service. That's why it's one of my favorite things. So we named off some favorite parks. I heard Smoky, Glacier, Denali, Yellowstone. What are some of your favorite things to do in the national parks? Why do you go to your national parks?
Get away from people.
Get away from people.
Haleakala sunrise.
Haleakala sunrise, that's what I like to hear.
Watch wildlife.
Watch wildlife.
Hiking the Rocky Mountains.
Hiking the Rocky Mountains. So we've got some recreation opportunities, some physical demands, some challenges. What else do we have?
Antisocial behavior.
Avoiding some social behaviors, avoiding socializing with people, or seeking out socializing with people. A lot of people come to parks to meet with different groups, just like us tonight. We're meeting here for my party. Thank you again. There's different types of things that people do at national parks, and it's really up to you how you choose to experience your national parks. So, like I said, there are 19 different designations, and we're gonna go ahead and learn a little bit about different national parks. I've chosen 6 that are geographically spaced out. I need 6 volunteers, as I said. I have 6. I'm gonna pick Tom, because I spent a lot of time with Tom today. Sorry. Raised hands would help for the rest of the volunteers. What I'm passing out are pictures of national park units. There's 6 different ones, and the activity that we're going to do is we're going to look at just the pictures of the national park units. Thank you, sir. We're gonna look at the pictures of the national park units, and we're gonna go around, and everyone's gonna pick one that they want to go to most, just based on the pictures. And then you will gravitate to that one, and then with everyone else in the group, you will discuss why you chose that one, and then we will have a group discussion later, talk a little bit about the parks, and then we'll see if some people's opinions change, and see if you learn a little bit about the national parks. So go ahead, everyone get up. This is a fun activity. We're gonna get up, we're gonna pump some legs here, get some blood flowing, and see some different parks, see some beautiful pictures of parks, and see where you would like to go visit. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna go around and we're gonna learn a little bit about these parks that we picked based purely upon what you saw. Some of you may have had some prior knowledge, but you based it primarily upon what you saw, some of the things that you think you would like to do there. So I'm gonna start here, and we're gonna go with Golden Gate National Recreation Area. So that's this one here. It's got 2 sides, Golden Gate on one and some meadows on the other with lots of flowers. It's a U.S. National Recreation Area in California that's comprised of ecologically and historically significant landscapes. It's one of the largest urban parks in the world. It's got famous tourist attractions like Muir Woods, the Presidio, but also cool historic things like Alcatraz. It's all encompassing. You can go hiking around some of the largest trees or take a tour of one of the most notorious prisons in our country's history. With this one, a good question would be, what impacts do green spaces and parks have in our large cities? Thank you, sir. What's next? We're gonna go from smallest groups. No one wants to hang out with Carrie. All right. So Carrie's got World War II Valor in the Pacific National Monument. That's what it's called. It's not Pearl Harbor Monument. It's called World War II Valor in the Pacific National Monument because it's a little bit more than just Pearl Harbor. The United States involvement in World War II is rooted in an event, a date which will live in infamy, December 7th, 1941. The Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor and the United States was drawn into 4 years of war on 2 different theaters. This monument has sites in 3 different states. It's in California, Alaska, and Hawaii. And it's dedicated not only to the battles fought in the Pacific, but also to the concentration camps used to detain Japanese Americans during World War II. This monument is a great place to reflect and try and understand the true cost of war. And that's one of my favorite things about the national parks. They're trying to do away with some of the whitewashing of our own history. It's very, very important that we remember the mistakes of our past so we don't recommit them in the future. This is a great example of that. And a good question for this one, I think something that we can all probably relate to in many ways. How has war impacted your life? Next one is this one. We've got, what do we got? We've got, Padre. Yeah, that's a good one. So beaches. A lot of people definitely like to go to the beach when they're on vacation. North Padre Island in Texas is the longest undeveloped barrier island in the world. Wow. The seashore is 70 miles of dunes, pristine Gulf beaches, and tidal flat environments. It's a great place for bird watchers because it's in a major migratory path for birds. The west coast of the island is known for its windsurfing. The east coast is famous as a popular site for nesting of the rarest sea turtle, the critically endangered Kemp's Ridley sea turtle. So one of the things that the park rangers do there is they actually facilitate little turtle hatching programs, and they hold nets so the birds don't dive bomb them and eat them, and the public gets to come watch these things. It's really, really cool. So not only is it a really relaxing thing, obviously there's wildlife protection going on there as well. Question for this one would be, what change can you make in your daily life to help improve the habitat of a sea turtle? Especially one as critically endangered as the Kemp's Ridley. Don't use plastic. Yeah, plastic straws. That's something we're hearing a lot about in the news right now. Plastic straws, a lot of places are doing away with them just as a whole. What do we have next? We got another one here. So this is Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial. He does have a National Historic Site dedicated to him. That's his home, but this one is a memorial in Washington, D.C. In Washington, D.C., there's a granite statue dedicated to the most vocal leader of the civil rights movement of the 50s and 60s. It's a place of peace and quiet where visitors often find themselves very emotionally touched and inspired. His is a story of rising above the hate and the violence that was dividing our country to try and achieve equal rights for all. 50 years later, his methods and teachings are still relevant today. What is something that you wish you could change in the world today? Specifically with this one, I think a good activity is passing out some quotes. These are quotes from his famous I Have a Dream speech. I'm going to go ahead and pass them all out, and I will pass them out hopefully to people that haven't been volunteers already. That way they don't feel too singled out. And just around in the circle, I'd like you to read these at a decent volume so everyone can hear. And I'll go ahead and read the last one. And we can go ahead and start right here.
Sorry. We will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream.
I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
I say to you today, my friends, that in spite of the difficulties and frustrations of the moment, I still have a dream.
Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood.
Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred.
I have a dream that one day right there in Alabama, little black boys and little black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers.
The whirlwinds of revolt will continue to shake the foundations of our nation until the bright day of justice emerges.
Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of segregation to the sunlit path of racial justice. Thank you, everyone, for reading those. This one in particular, I've been to a couple times. I really like it, and it's always just nice to take a few minutes and sit by the monument there. We'll go ahead and continue with the next 2, I believe, that are left. We've got, there's a really popular one in the back. We can do that. We'll say that one for last. That's my favorite. We'll go with this one here. And what you see is a gorge river and some fishing opportunities on the back. This is Bluestone National Scenic River. This protects 10.5 miles of the Bluestone River in West Virginia. That makes its way through a rugged gorge in the Appalachian Mountains. The beautiful views are a nice side attraction to the many recreation opportunities that are available, such as fishing, hiking, canoeing, kayaking, and even riding the aerial tram that takes you from the gorge down into the river. How does listening to running water make you feel? These are really relaxing. That one's the closest one to here. That one, like I said, it's in West Virginia. It's probably about 5-6 hours drive from here, down by the New River, close to the Virginia border. And then the final one over there, my favorite, Mount Rainier National Park. It was the 5th national park established in the United States. The mountain itself is a 14,411 foot stratovolcano in the state of Washington. Still active, by the way. It's a very large park with many waterfalls, valleys, subalpine meadows, old growth forests, and over 25 glaciers. It has the largest glaciers by volume and area in the entire contiguous United States. Over 10,000 people a year try to summit the mountain, but only half of them make it to the top. How does it make you feel when you achieve something you worked really, really hard for? So now, what I would like to do is anyone in the crowd, after hearing these things, wanting to change their choice from the park that they picked to a different park that we just learned about. If you want to go to them all, as Carrie does, as I do, that's fine. But I just wanted to give you the opportunity to maybe make a first judgment, a snap judgment, pick a park, learn a little bit more about it, and then have the opportunity to potentially change your minds. Looks like you're pretty stuck in your ways. That's fine by me. I like to, once I'm set on a track, I'm pretty stuck there as well. Thank you for playing. Thank you for the interaction and the engagement. I appreciate it. You can take those back to you with your seats, and we're going to finish up this program here with our final point. So we're celebrating the national parks. It's a party of a party. We're talking about all the different types of national parks and celebration in general. So what I would like for you to do is think about, just take a few seconds, and I'll be silent for the first time in this 30 minutes. I would like you to take some time and think about what is worth celebrating today. What is something that's happening now in the last 20 years to current that you think may be a national park unit in the future, that you think maybe deserves to be a national park unit in the future? Like we just talked about the Martin Luther King Memorial. There's a lot of racial tensions obviously currently. Is there something going on with that movement? I'm going to go ahead and be silent for a little bit and give everyone time to think.
I hadn't thought of this until you challenged us to think about it, but it seems that we don't do much or anything that I'm terribly aware of with the Native American population. And I think the Park Service could embrace more, at least cooperative ventures with things that are historically significant.
There's a lot of things out west that have to do with
Working with the Native Americans.
Okay.
Like?
Well, they have the painted forest, the painted desert.
Yeah. I've been there. I didn't see anything to do with Native Americans.
Monument Valley. I agree with you. There's more we can do, but I just don't want you to think there's nothing.
Well, I've been to both of those places, and I didn't see anything that had to do with Native Americans.
You know what's a really cool one? Glacier National Park created a new visitor center, and they invited the tribes from the area to tell their story. And you can go into the visitor center, and at the end of their story, pretty much every tribe said this should not be National Park Service land, this is our ancestral land. So that I thought was done very nicely. I really appreciated that.
How long has that been there?
Just a couple years, I would say less than a decade.
Well, there's a lot of
We got one
farmers
in
in
the
this
back.
valley that don't think this should be land. So, I mean,
Right.
well, I think, as people get older, they used to celebrate things like D-Day, the 6th of June. They used to celebrate December 7th, 1941. They used to remember those. And it used to be a headline on a newspaper when I was growing up. When I was 15, when I was 18, when I was 20. Since probably in the last 10 years, all that's gone away. They need to celebrate and never forget those things that have happened. They may have a day for them, but nobody brings it to anybody's attention. So
just do a better job commemorating our history. again, commemorate being one of those synonyms we talked about with celebrate. One that I think will be happening in the near future probably is the 9/11 memorial in New York City. Obviously that's something that's completely changed the country. And that's something that I can see that's happened in the last 20 years that will probably in the near future become a national park unit, and that's something that is extremely relevant and is extremely important for our country moving forward and for historical purposes. But I just want people to think about the idea. We have these parks now, and we're celebrating the parks now. We get to go out and enjoy them every single day. Oh, Pam's got one.
I do, and I just want to throw this out for thought. Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter, Me Too movement. If we're a National Park Service that speaks to the people of this country, those are some pretty significant movements today that may well be National Park Service sites and remembrances in the future.
So again, want to talk about celebrating the national parks, and we get to appreciate them every day, but also just think about the idea of celebrating the national parks. It's about commemorating, honoring, remembering, and don't just think about it now, think about it for the future. And I'm going to reach in my handy dandy back pocket and read this quote again, and let's see if you feel a little bit differently about it. The parks do not belong to one state or section. The Yellowstone, the Yosemite, and the Grand Canyon are national properties in which every citizen has a vested interest. They belong as much to the man of Massachusetts, of Michigan, and Florida as they do to the people of California, Wyoming, and Arizona. Thank you for visiting. Hope you had a great time at my party, and hope you have a good rest of your night.